on this Father's Day, we want to talk about some of the great father-son duos in football. This is a topic that very often makes people feel old, because you go, wait a second, Lilian Thuram's kid is playing. There's two kids that are playing in Serie A. But there's some amazing combinations of fathers and sons. And we actually want to start with a duo that's close to home, obviously, because you have George Weah, the Ballon d'Or winner, the only ever African Ballon d'Or winner, and you have Timothy Weah, who decided to not play for Liberia and instead play for the U.S. men's national team. We're kind of trying to compare the two. How do you kind of see this duo here?
Listen, I'm just going to say world-class first and foremost, and when I say world-class, I mean the father, absolutely world-class. Absolute icon of the game, a hero of mine. The reason why I love Italian football was because of George Weah, what he brought to the game, who he was, what he stood for. Just an outstanding individual. I didn't understand how good his kid was, Tim Weah. And you look at his career when it started, it was somewhat stutter-start. Then all of a sudden, spent a bit of time in Scotland, put him on my radar. And then he just took his game to the next level. I'm very grateful that he's playing for the US national team, but I still think there's more to come from this kid. And I think in a Juve jersey, we've seen some sort of real improvement from him. He's a good player, but still, father rules all day long.
Do you think there's any way for him to get to those heights? It feels like there's that consistent level of performance. We've seen at his best, Tim Weah can turn in a very good performance, but is that still probably too lofty to get all the way to George Weah level?
I think trying to get to anywhere near George Weah's level would be almost impossible for a Timothy Weah. However, just having that name brings a great deal of pressure, and he's managing it very well. I still think there's room for improvement in his game. He's a very, very good player. Let's leave it at that.
No question, and obviously a big part of the side with Juventus. Now, moving on to the Schmeichels, let's talk about Kasper and Peter. Obviously, Peter, our colleague here at CBS, and Kasper still going strong at 38 years young. Never quite hit the level of standard, but has the achievements, right? You talk about particularly winning the Premier League with Leicester. You're part of an all-time historic side by doing that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as a father-son duo, this is as close as you'll probably get. I mean, both very, very good goalkeepers. We did have a world-class goalkeeper, and in my opinion, Peter Schmeichel, for a period of time, was the best in the world. He was just outstanding. We all remember the saves he used to pull off for Manchester United. I mean, I was lucky to be a schoolboy at United, and I actually got to have a shooting practice. And I'll tell you a little sneaky story about Peter Schmeichel. As a schoolboy, you're 12, 13 years old, and you're getting to take a chance on Peter Schmeichel, the legendary Peter Schmeichel, in that fabulous Manchester United team. Witty, I put one right in the top corner. And Peter Schmeichel chased me all the way around the training facility, said that he wasn't ready for the strike. I don't care whether you were ready or not, Peter. What a great finish. But Kasper's done so well. He's lived up to the name. And that, again, goes back to it. Big name, big pressure. He stood up, and I think actually winning a Premier League title the way he did do, that was a big achievement in his career. And he's also done pretty well since he's been in Scotland as well.
Yeah, you haven't quite achieved at the same level. You're not quite playing the Man United team. But when you win the Premier League with Leicester, it's just such a singular achievement that goes on your resume for the rest of your career.
It's a great achievement. And of course, now you can go on and say, you know what? My father did really well. So did I.
I did okay in my own right. Let's talk about the Thurams. You mentioned them earlier. Lilian Thuram, brilliant defender in his time for the French national side, obviously affiliated with Parma as well. And now his sons play for two of the biggest clubs in Italy as well. And Khéphren, the midfielder for Juventus, and Marcus, the forward player, brilliant striker for Inter as well. We see these two, I think maybe in the aggregate, they come pretty close to what Lilian did.
Well, Lilian, to me, was world-class, and even beyond that, I almost put him in my all-time best 11 for World Cup players, especially in his position to have won the World Cup final. I mean, just an outstanding player. But then to raise children who go and play at such a high level, Khéphren, to me, is an outstanding talent, and really, I don't think we've seen his full levels yet. I've been fortunate enough to spend some time with Marcus Thuram, a great person, well-driven, spent a lot of time in the Bundesliga. He did very well in the Bundesliga. But in my personal opinion, I don't know if you agree with me, Witty, I think from Bundesliga to Serie A, he has gone to the next level. And now he's in that category of maybe he can become a world-class player. Maybe he can be recognised just as much as his father can be. And Khéphren, of course, being the youngster, still got room for improvement to get to that level. But Marcus Thuram and Lilian Thuram, I agree with you, Witty. Not far away.
Yeah, Marcus Thuram, I think partnering with Lautaro Martinez has sent his career to another level. He's starting to play for France as well. when you look at how difficult this is, though, as a father yourself, you don't pick between your children.
Nah.
One's playing for Inter, one's playing for Juve, though.
Yeah.
That's a derby d'Italia. That's one of the big derbies in Italy. That's going to be tough on Lilian.
Listen, all you do is you turn up, you put the hat on, okay, you're recognizable, or you're trying to be incognito in the stands, support your family. That's what he's done incredibly well, and I think just being that father figure for them, recognizing that both of these players have got talent, it's a great way to be.
I wonder if he puts like a half and half shirt on. I feel like that would upset everyone.
He looks like Inspector Gadget when he turns up to games.
Let's talk about the Maldinis now, which is an unbelievable lineage that goes 3 generations from Cesare to Paolo to now Daniel Maldini, who plays for Atalanta as well. This is remarkable to go 3 generations.
Yeah, listen, the number 3 for me, we was in my generation, and I idolized him for many reasons, for what he did do for AC Milan, and being able to follow AC Milan in that period of time, watching what he did do for the Italian national team as well. I mean, you recognize the Champions League titles that he won. I mean, Paolo, for me, of course, he was my first Maldini that I recognized and got to watch from start to finish in games. So he will always be the icon to me. Didn't get to see Cesare as much, so I don't understand how good he was, but I recognize the icon and obviously being the leader of this wonderful family. I think Daniel's got a bit of room for improvement. Obviously, it's been difficult because he's bared the weight of that name, especially having to move clubs, trying to create a name for himself. Then, obviously, recently getting into that international scene, I think he's doing pretty well. But Paolo, for me, it just seems to me like he's a class above the rest of the Maldinis in that family. What a family, by the way. Imagine dinner. Imagine having Christmas dinner there, and you're looking around and all there is Champions League winners and top-flight players. I mean, it's just brilliant to see.
Yeah, if you're Daniel, you kind of walk in, I got signed by Gianpiero Gasparini today. Yeah. Playing for Atalanta now. Like, Daniel, sit down. Sit down. All right,
I want to see my Champions League medal.
Let's talk about the Simeones, which is a really interesting one because Diego Simeone, of course, a great player in his own right, the manager of Atletico. There you see, well, he's the manager of River with his kids, and it's been interesting because we see Giuliano now playing for Atleti, and Diego always said when it came to Giovanni, who was at Napoli, that he would never pick one of his own sons in his team because it's so difficult and the nepotism charge and all that. But Giuliano seems to have transcended that and earned his place on the right side of that Atleti side.
What a fabulous player. What an outstanding individual, brilliant player that can transform games and change games. The way the game's going sometimes for Atleti, he comes off the bench, and that's where I saw him have his biggest impact. Immediately when he burst onto the scene, picking up possession of the ball, running at fullbacks, talent, belief, confidence. I'm sure that comes from his father. I mean, I always remember his father, Diego, in the World Cup when he got David Beckham sent off. He absolutely did, by the way. Big fan of mine for that. Sorry, David. But at the same time, I mean, to have 2 sons who have gone on to a very high level, and still this one here, I think Giuliano is obviously one that I think can really take his game to the next level. He's got something pretty special, and in many ways, if we look at the father-son comparisons, he might be the one that outdoes his father if he potentially gets to that level and continues on this trend.
Certainly on his way, based off what we've seen so far for Atleti. Yeah. Without question, not in the side because he's the coach's son. He's in the side because he's a very good player. I also imagine, based off of that shot, that you'll be missing the invite to Beckham and Friends next year.
Yeah, whatever, you know.
I don't think he'll be on the desk next to Tom Cruise next year.
You know, Sir David.
Next up, let's get to the Kluiverts, who are a really interesting bunch. Patrick, obviously, brilliant Dutch player, one of the Ajax generation that came through and won the Champions League in the mid-90s. And then his son, Justin, become a very good player for Bournemouth. Very good left foot, coming off that right side for Bournemouth, and you can see him progressing in his career.
Fabulous player, deserves recognition because of his own individual brilliance, and what he's done in the Premier League has been excellent so far. I think there will be rumours as to where he goes from here on out. He's obviously been at some big clubs as well before. Of course, we've covered him in Serie A, and we've also seen him come through Ajax. But let me just tell you something. I was blessed to watch his father, Patrick Kluivert. I've also had the opportunity to work with him, but blessed to watch him at 17 years old. He played in a tournament. It was a World Championship tournament in Scotland, and I went to watch. My grandfather took me, and I watched this guy, turn up, and after the practice, he was the one who had to pick up all the balls and put them in the bag, and then the next day he went and scored a hat-trick in that competition. That's how good his father Patrick was, one of the greatest players I have ever seen. And as a youngster, from teenager into that 24, 25, there was few better than what his father was. Patrick was on that next level category for me.
Now, Ian, as you are the father of the show today, we have asked you to commission a best 11 of footballing fathers. Now, the question we're going to ask after we reveal the 11, easy for me to say, is who might come into this side? And here is the 11 that you've chosen. Take us through it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've gone for the name. Schmeichel stands for himself. Thuram, we've talked about. Maldini talks for himself. We had to put Kluivert in there, of course, as the main man in midfield alongside Zidane. His son Enzo obviously plays. Georgie Hadji, one of the greatest left foots I've ever seen in person. Saw it in World Cup 1994. Henrik Larsson, Patrick Kluivert, and of course, Weah. Mazinho, of course, with the Thiago Alcantara connection, outstanding. So to me, this is an excellent 11. And there was maybe a Van Bommel that could have gone in there. There was maybe a couple more names I could have put in there potentially. But these are the 11 that I've chosen. So I'm actually going to pose it to you. If you think of the sons from famous fathers who had excellent careers, which one or two do you think would actually get into this all-time 11 fathers?
I think you mentioned him already. We talked about it. I think it's Giuliano Simeone. I think Giuliano Simeone on that right side where you have Diego right now.
Yep.
I see Giuliano, having watched him play for Atleti, having called their Champions League knockout tie with Real Madrid, he is different level for me. He is on his way to being a key part of that team for years to come, becoming a really good player.
Can I throw one more at you?
Yeah, please.
And let me know if you think this gets in there. Erling Haaland?
Oh, I mean, Erling Haaland could probably be there already. I guess you got to knock out Henrik Larsson or Patrick Kluivert.
Oh, Henrik Larsson's a god in Glasgow. I'm just going to throw that out there. He's a
Erling
god in
Haaland is a great
Barcelona.
shout.
He's a god in Manchester. I mean, he's played for some big clubs. Erling's done okay for himself, but I don't know.
These footballing fathers have given the game a lot, and their sons are on their way as part of the next generation.